What's going on, everyone? So Austin Reeves was fantastic in the Memphis series. In the 6 games that he played against Memphis, he averaged 16 and a half points on 45% shooting and was just a really solid contributor, basically nightly, game in and game out. He was a plus 62 in that series and really just looked like the guy that we had hoped he would be in the playoffs. Right, he was like doing these things in the regular season, but a lot of it was at the free throw line, drawing contact, things like that. How would he translate in the playoffs? And at first it was a little kind of like, oh, okay, but he made the adjustments and was great in that Memphis series. He closed game one for us and was just absolutely dominant. And then just throughout that series, really kind of had his way when he was on. And then fast forward to this Warriors series, and he's really struggled. He has struggled badly. And the question is, can we keep him in the starting lineup the way that he's performing? He's not really hitting the three ball. He's not getting to his spots and hitting the shots. He is finding ways to get in and get into the teeth of the defense, but he just seems passive at times. And even when he does take the shot, it just seems like it's a little off, or he's looking for the contact, kind of resorting back to defaults in many ways. And Austin Reeves is still a fantastic player, right? He's in year 2. That's something we have to keep in mind and think about when we're evaluating Austin Reeves. And I just think a lot of it is he has to chase and run around guarding Clay, which is a marathon in and of itself. Or, sometimes he's switching on Steph. He's got to do that. That's a marathon in and of itself. And I just think it's part just exhaustion. Other part is you're going up against the most experienced team in the entire league when it comes to these moments, and Austin Reeves is paying the price for it for being a second-year player. And I don't think that that's a bad thing, but I think that there's a real argument to moving him to the bench and then having him kind of thrive in that bench role. Like, I don't think Jordan Poole's going to be able to stop him. I don't think the Warriors bench is going to be able to slow him down. And you could kind of try to build his confidence back up and maybe get him in better spots. That would also help our bench unit. And there's a real argument for like Dennis Schroeder. I made a whole video diving in like, should they do Dennis Schroeder in place of him? Because, you could have him guard Steph, Vando guard Clay. Although we saw a nice adjustment where Vanderbilt was actually guarding Draymond and basically just shutting down that pick and roll and stuff, which was just beautiful. Great adjustment by Darvin Ham. But another option that just kind of emerged in the last game that I think that there's a real argument for over Austin Reeves is Lonnie Walker. Now, the concern with Lonnie was like, one, the lack of experience as well. His defense, would he be able to defend? He was great. He looked comfortable. He looked confident. He had his little rough stretch when he first got into the game. Maybe it was just kind of rust or just, nerves, jitters. But whatever it was, he dusted it off and was fantastic the rest of the game. And he really showed like, hey, you need to have this guy in the rotation this series. And I made a whole video talking about Lonnie Walker and how I think that he should get a chance against Golden State, because I think that this was a really good matchup for him against the Warriors. The Warriors really struggle against guys that play the way Lonnie does, the high, hyper-athletic, quick-footed type guys that can just get to the basket, knock down shots. We saw Malik Monk have his way with the Warriors. We saw De'Aaron Fox have his way with the Warriors. And I think Lonnie Walker is one of those guys that can. And he was great. Again, 12 points, 4 rebounds, 4 of 6 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3, made his free throws, had a block and 2 steals. He was just everywhere. His hustle, his fresh legs, his energy, all of that was very valuable. And I think that there is an argument to maybe, like, if you want, I understand you want to keep as much intact as possible, right? Again, I still think the bigger argument would be Dennis Schroeder. I think that would make a little more sense just because you get the experience. He can still get to the basket and have his way. He did it in game 3. He did it in game 1. He was doing it in game 2, just wasn't hitting the shots like he was in the other 2 games. But I think, Darvin Ham, he likes to keep things kind of in order, and there is an argument for that, right? You have Dennis Schroeder in a specific role, keep him in that role. I think it's one of the reasons why he hasn't made any changes to starting lineup, right? You want Reeves to kind of hopefully get out of this slump, regain his confidence, because I do think Austin Reeves would be great against Denver. I don't think anyone on Denver he's going to have to chase around the way he has to chase in this Warriors matchup. And then on top of that, I think there's nobody that can guard him the way that the Warriors can guard him on Denver or Phoenix. If we end up playing Phoenix, whichever team, I think Austin Reeves can thrive again. I just think that this is a tough matchup for him. But do understand the idea of like, let's not shake the water too much here. They're still having success. They're up 2-1. But I do think that for the betterment of the team, you might need to make Austin come off the bench, tell him like, hey, this way you don't have to do all the craziness that you have to do in the starting lineup. You can kind of ease into it, get your feet back under you, and if you can get back to where you were, next series you can start again. Because the NBA and the playoffs especially are about matchups, right? And sometimes good matchups are better, right? You saw Steve Kerr make the adjustment of like, hey, we need to take out Kevon Looney and put in Green. And they did that, right? Draymond Green. There were games in the Kings series where he didn't start because they liked the floor spacing with Jordan Poole and stuff like that, right? So it's part of being the adjustments and tactician of the playoffs. And so it's nothing against Austin Reeves. It's more so of like, hey, you just don't have it this series. It's a tough matchup. I get it. You're in this second year. We need to get some more firepower. We need to get some more athleticism. Let's do some things to shake some stuff up and throw them off their game for Game 4, because Game 4 is very important. Right? Game 4 could be the deciding factor of who wins the series. If the Lakers lose Game 4, it's not over, right? The Lakers have already shown that they can win in Golden State, but it just makes things so much tougher, right? And you want to do whatever you can to kind of throw a wrench in everything. And the Warriors are going to be game planning and, doing their thing with the starters that we have. If you throw a wrench like Lonnie Walker, now they got to adjust and game plan for that. And it's like, well, who's going to guard Lonnie? Right? So what, we're going to put Clay on Lonnie and then Steph on D'Lo? D'Lo's just going to abuse him, right? Or how do you go about that? How do you make those adjustments? So I do think adding the athleticism and the ability to score and put the ball on the deck and get to the basket in a Lonnie Walker, I think could be very valuable, especially if he can maintain that level of defense that we saw. Austin Reeves also, to his credit, dude, the guy's been playing like 40 minutes a game, every game. It's been ridiculous, right? Like, he's probably got tired legs. He's probably just burnt out. He played 30 minutes in last game, but that was also because of a blowout. Otherwise, he probably would have played more. So he's kind of been the guy that Darvin Ham's kind of leaned on heavily, and he's rewarded Darvin Ham, right? He's done a great job in the Memphis series. This series, he's still giving you some production. It's not like he's out there and just being a total bum. He still is giving you like 10 points a game in the Warriors series, but he's not doing it efficiently. He's doing it on like 26% shooting as opposed to 46% shooting, right? That's a big difference. And I would love to see Reeves kind of have that game. Game 4 would be the best time for that. Have Austin Reeves come out and just be the Austin Reeves we know and love. That would be brilliant. But I do think that there's a real argument of like, hey, Lonnie looked ready. Lonnie looked fresh. Lonnie looked like he was a mismatch at times for this team. Why don't we give him a shot? He's a guy that already started for the Lakers for a good chunk of the season, so he's comfortable in the starting lineup. He's familiar with the sets. He's a guy that he's probably not going to take 20 shots a game, but can he at least shoot 40% or 45% from the field, attacking the basket, putting pressure on the defense, getting to the foul line, knocking down threes, right? If he can do that, then that's better, right? Because we've seen the starters at times get stagnant offensively. And usually that gets offset because D'Lo gets going and Austin Reeves gets going and then AD gets going and then LeBron's picking and choosing his spots. So you're okay and can live with Jared Vanderbilt, shooting 30% from the corner three. Like, you can live with that. But when Austin Reeves isn't providing that scoring punch, you see the effects that happened in Game 1 where the Lakers were, ended up losing that first quarter, and game 3 where the Lakers ended up losing that first quarter. And so that becomes a problem. And it's like, can the Lakers, make those adjustments and then keep up and then win the game, which they were able to do both times. But there's no guarantee that they'll be able to do that a third time or a fourth time. And so it's like, I get the idea of like, you want to keep everything in order. Like, don't try to fix what ain't broke, right? Austin Reeves is still contributing. He's still playing a part. They're still challenging him because they know if he gets going, it could be a problem, right? Like, the Warriors still are game planning for Austin Reeves like he's going to go off for 20 because they know he can. And he's just having a rough stretch. And game 4 could be the game. Maybe Darvin Ham keeps Austin Reeves in the starting lineup in game 4. And maybe he does go give us 20 points and we win in another dominant fashion. I would love that. But either A, Darvin Ham needs to have a short leash on Austin Reeves and say, hey, buddy, like you just don't have it this series. It's fine. And kind of monitor him. And if in the first 4 or 5 minutes he looks like he's struggling again, make that change, make that adjustment, bring in a guy like Lonnie Walker who can come in and really kind of, put pressure on the defense, get to his spots, get to the basket, knock down the 3 ball. If he's the guy that's stepping up, then fine. The goal is to win a championship. The goal is to win this series. The goal is, as a team, next man up mentality. Hey, buddy, you don't have it today. It's okay. That's fine. Sometimes there's been games where LeBron hasn't had it, or games where AD hasn't had it. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Let's go get this W, and let's put in a guy like Lonnie Walker. Trust your teammate. Not like you're not going to play at all, but hey, this is what the team needs right now. We need that scoring punch. We need that. And Austin Reeves being on the bench might be best for him because it might allow him to kind of get back into his comfort zone and start seeing the ball fall into the hoop a couple times. And then, if he goes and scores 20 off the bench, how valuable that is, right? That's arguably more valuable than if he's scoring 20 in the starting lineup, right? So if he can come off the bench and start kind of getting things going because he's getting different looks and he's matched up against different players, and on the defensive end, it becomes easier for him. I really think that there's an argument for Lonnie. I still think Dennis might be the best sort of where you just put Dennis at the 1, D'Lo at the 2, especially with how well D'Lo has played off the ball this year and even in this playoffs. And then, Vando, LeBron, and AD. I do still think that may arguably be the best scenario, but I think if you throw Lonnie in, he gives you scoring, he gives you athleticism. If he can maintain that defense that we saw in the last game, then that would be huge because now you're not losing anything on the defensive end, which was a concern with Lonnie. And then now you have Austin Reeves coming off the bench, and now you got that 3-headed monster off the bench and Schroeder, Reeves, and Rui. I think that's great. I think that's something that could really be impactful for this game 4 and just maybe going forward in this series particular. If you want afterwards, unless Lonnie's just having some insane series, right? I mean, if Lonnie's giving you 15 to 20 a game on great efficiency, then maybe you leave it. But let's say Lonnie's just giving you 12 points per game or 10 points per game on 43, 44% shooting, something like that, where it's just okay, well, Austin Reeves can give you the same thing and more efficiently if he gets going. Let's get him back in the starting lineup for the Denver matchup. I'm fine with that. But I do think just this matchup, this series in particular, I think that there's an argument for Lonnie Walker. Now, that doesn't mean that in the Denver series, don't play Lonnie, because again, like I said, I thought this Warriors series would be great for him. I think the Phoenix or Denver series is going to be really good for him. If we end up playing Boston, though, in the playoffs or in the NBA Finals, if we get there, that might be a little rough for Lonnie. But time will tell. I mean, confidence, if he gets going, it's hard to stop the guy with his speed and athleticism and just all the intangibles. He could be our Malik Monk, right? That the Sacramento Kings had. Again, I think that there's an argument to maybe starting Lonnie because you saw how confident he was and maybe kind of rewarding him. Like, hey, man, you stayed ready. You were locked in. You played both sides of the ball. We're rewarding you with a starting position in game 4. I think that would just boost his confidence and allow him to kind of, maybe get his feet under him and maybe go have a 20-point game, which would be beautiful. And then if you have Reeves, who's coming off the bench giving you 15 to 20, and Rui's capable of doing it. Now you got basically 7 guys that can all score 20 plus, or at least 15 plus. I mean, Vando's even scored 15 plus, so let's throw him in there too. There's 8 guys that could give you 15 plus on any given night. It just becomes more difficult for the Warriors to stop and defend. So, I don't know. Just a thought. Again, I don't think Darvin Ham will do it. I really don't. I think he'll stick to what he has and then just kind of like keep a short leash on Austin Reeves. But I do think that there's an argument. And I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Let me know down in the comments below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you want to see Lonnie start? Do you not? How do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know down in the comments.